Early hours of 11 May 2018, Osmington, Western Australia. A peaceful 12-hectare farm, home to 3 generations of one family, set among the fields and vineyards of the state's southwest. It was the kind of place people choose for retirement, for raising grandchildren, for starting over after life's setbacks. No one could have known this would be the last morning for 7 people. 5:15 in the morning. An emergency call to 000 cut through the quiet of the countryside. When police arrived, they found one of the most horrifying scenes in Australian history. 6 members of the same family had died. A grandfather, a grandmother, a mother, and 4 children. The 7th person, the one responsible for it all, was also gone. This was confirmed as Australia's worst mass shooting in over 2 decades, since the Port Arthur Massacre in 1996. What happened inside that house? What drove a man who had once been a grandfather, a father, a husband, to an act beyond imagining? A family that had once been close, that had weathered hardship together, had come to an end in a way no one can fully explain. Today, let's follow every clue, every account, to understand why this tragedy happened and what we can learn from it. 5:15 a.m. on 11th May 2018, a call to Australia's emergency number 000 cut through the stillness of what had started as an ordinary morning. The caller reported that something serious had happened at a farm in Osmington, near the town of Margaret River, in the southwest of Western Australia, a region known for its vineyards, its stands of hardwood forest, and its quiet rural way of life. The call lasted around 2 minutes. On the other end of the line, the operator took down the details with professional calm. With no way of knowing the true scale of what lay ahead, police logged the information and immediately dispatched officers to the address given. This was a quiet, rural area. Small farms scattered among fields and vineyards, far from any city centre, where neighbours could live kilometres apart and life tended to move slowly. Serious incidents were rare in an area like this, which made the call that morning feel out of place from its very first seconds. No one in the area could have imagined what was waiting for emergency crews when they arrived. Every minute on the drive to the scene was a minute in which no one yet knew the true scale of what had happened behind that farm gate. When police arrived at the Osmington farm, they quickly realized this was no ordinary incident. The entire 12-hectare property was sealed off immediately. Crime scene tape strung around the land, patrol cars lining up along the dirt track leading in. The first body was found outside, on the veranda of the main house, an older man. Inside the main house, police found the body of an older woman, and in a converted shed on the same property, not far from the main house, that had been turned into living quarters, police found 5 more bodies, including a younger woman and 4 children. Officers moved through every room, every corner of the property with great care, under a heavy silence that had settled over what had always been a peaceful farm. This was one of the deadliest scenes Western Australia Police had ever had to deal with in the force's history. The entire area was preserved for forensic investigation over the following days, with no detail, however small, allowed to be overlooked. For the officers who attended the scene that day, it was a morning few of them would likely ever forget, despite their training for the hardest situations the job can bring. Forensic teams and investigators worked at the Osmington property for several days, meticulously recording every detail that could help reconstruct the full picture of what had happened. 3 rifles were recovered at the scene, all legally registered to the property's owner. These were the kind of firearms commonly used in farm work across rural Australia, for pest control or protecting livestock, not illegal weapons or anything obtained unlawfully. Every piece of evidence pointed to one conclusion. This was a tragedy that had unfolded entirely within the family, with no sign of anyone breaking in or any struggle at the scene. The forensic examination was carried out thoroughly and carefully before the property was eventually handed back to the family. Every part of the property, from the main house to the converted shed, was carefully checked, because in a case of this scale, even the smallest detail could help clarify the sequence of what had taken place. After the verification process, police formally confirmed the identities of the 7 people at the scene that day. The first victim confirmed was Cinda Miles, 58. She was the wife of Peter Miles, the property's owner, a woman who had built a new life with her husband in Osmington after many years connected to the town of Margaret River. The second victim was Katrina Miles, 35. She was the daughter of Peter and Cinda, who had moved back in with her parents after her marriage broke down, bringing her 4 young children to start over on the land she herself had grown up on. The remaining 4 victims were Katrina's children, aged between 8 and 13. Rather than attending school like other children their age, they were being homeschooled by their mother, for reasons known only to the family itself. All 6 family members were confirmed to have died at the scene. The 7th person confirmed was Peter Miles, 61, the owner of the property. He, too, had not survived. This was a 3-generation family who had once shared the land they called home, a place meant to be a refuge for healing after life's hardships, which instead became the place where all 7 lives ended in a single morning. This loss went far beyond numbers. It was the complete disappearance of a family line, of a home that had once been full of children's laughter. Not long after the news was confirmed, WA Police Commissioner Chris Dawson held a press conference, facing a barrage of questions from journalists, awaiting answers to a case that had shaken the whole country. He stated that investigators had found no indication that a third party had been involved in the incident. This was confirmed as an event entirely contained within the family. No other suspects were being sought, and police did not extend the investigation beyond the household. The news brought some reassurance to a local community, left shaken and uneasy. But it also opened up a far bigger question than who had done this. The question of why. The investigation then shifted its focus to understanding what had led this family to such a devastating outcome, rather than continuing to focus on the physical scene. From there, investigators began speaking with relatives, friends, and anyone who had known the Miles family, piecing together a picture of their life in the years before the tragedy. Peter Miles had spent 20 years as manager of the farm school program at a high school in the town of Margaret River. It was a role tied to both education and agriculture, guiding generations of students in farming, livestock, and rural life. He was well known in the local community for that role over 2 decades, a familiar and respected figure in the small town. In 2015, Peter and his wife Cinda moved from the Margaret River town site to a small 12-hectare farm in Osmington, where they'd planned to enjoy a quiet, rural retirement. They gave the property a name, rebuilt it corner by corner, and turned it into a place where the wider family could gather. It was the picture of an ordinary family, tied to the land and to farm life, nothing that hinted at what was to come. To neighbors and friends in the area, Peter and Cinda were kind people, always ready to help others, which only made what happened later harder for the local community to comprehend. Katrina, daughter of Peter and Cinda, moved back in with her parents at the Osmington property after her marriage broke down. She and her 4 children moved into a converted shed on the property that had been turned into a home, a space of their own, but still within reach of her parents' care. Katrina believed her children showed traits associated with the autism spectrum, and she had chosen to withdraw them from the local school to homeschool them instead. It was not an easy decision for any single mother, caring for her children while also taking on the role of teacher, all while going through a difficult period following the end of her marriage. At the time, Katrina and her children's life was closely tied to her parents, a multi-generational household, supporting one another after the breakdown of her marriage. The children grew up among the fields, close to their grandparents, and may well have found a sense of stability there during a period when their family life was in flux. For Katrina, moving back in with her parents may well have been a decision born of love and a wish to protect her children, a fresh start, not a failure. Aaron Cockman was Katrina's estranged husband, the biological father of the 4 children. After his marriage to Katrina ended, Aaron lived apart from his children, while still wanting to remain part of their lives. According to what Aaron later told the media, the Miles family had prevented him from seeing his children for the 6 months before the incident. It was a period that, by his own account, only deepened the distance between him and the children he loved. He described himself as someone standing outside a complicated family situation, where decisions about the children were largely out of his control during that period. As a father, separated from his children for an extended period, Aaron's story reflects a side of divorce and family disputes that's often overlooked. The pain of a parent kept apart from their own children. According to Aaron Cockman, the family went through a custody dispute lasting around 2 years, handled through the Family Court of Western Australia. It was a tense period, one that affected not just the two people directly involved, but everyone around them, including the children's grandparents. Aaron said the court had issued rulings regarding where the children should live, but that, in his view, those rulings were not properly followed. He believed that if the court's decisions had been carried out as ordered, his children might still be alive today, a belief he carried with him in the years after the tragedy. According to Aaron, Peter had paid a significant sum, reportedly around $100,000, towards the legal costs of his daughter's separation. That figure reflects just how serious and how drawn out the legal battle facing this family had become. A battle that cost not only money, but wore down the strength and spirit of everyone involved. The financial and emotional strain from this prolonged dispute, Aaron said, had weighed heavily on the whole family for a long time, a quiet burden that perhaps no one outside the family truly understood the weight of. According to what Aaron Cockman shared after the incident, the Miles family had faced difficult episodes in the past. He said Peter had been estranged from his own mother, and that the family had endured painful losses over the years before this. These were details Aaron shared publicly with the media after the incident, reflecting a family carrying years of accumulated trauma and psychological strain long before the final tragedy occurred. Wounds like these, when left unacknowledged, can sit quietly for years, sometimes passed down through generations, without anyone ever speaking of them. It's also what led many people, once the case became public, to wonder whether there had been signs along the way that no one recognized as serious at the time. According to information police gave to Aaron Cockman, the incident took place sometime between 4 and 5 in the morning on 11th of May 2018. These were the early hours of a new day, when most of the family would still have been asleep. Peter was said to have taken the lives of his wife, daughter, and grandchildren before taking his own life. Afterwards, Peter placed a call to the 000 emergency line to alert police. That call, by all accounts, was the final act of a man who had already made a decision that could not be undone. Shortly after the call, Peter took his own life on the veranda. This is the full sequence of events confirmed by police. No further details about the method have been made public beyond what's stated here. For anyone following this case, it's a sequence of events that took very little time, but carries a weight that's almost impossible to measure. In under an hour, a 3-generation family had ceased to exist. During the crime scene examination, police confirmed they had found a suicide note left by Peter Miles. The contents, later made public, were brief, referring only to leaving the contents of the house to Aaron Cockman. This is the full extent of what was confirmed publicly. No further information about a motive was stated in the note. No explanation, no reason set down in writing, no apology or expression of feeling recorded anywhere. That brief note, as many following the case have noted, only made the question of why harder to answer. For the family members who survived the tragedy, the absence of a clear explanation may be one of the hardest things to live with, carrying on with the rest of their lives without ever getting a full answer to the biggest question they will ever face. On 17th May 2018, Commissioner Chris Dawson confirmed that forensic work at the scene had been completed. The property was handed back to the family, though the broader investigation continued for several months afterwards. The investigation also confirmed Peter Miles had been taking a type of antidepressant medication from the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI class, at the time of the incident. This is medical information that was officially disclosed as part of the investigation record, not speculation from outside sources. It opened up a different picture of Peter's state of mind in the period before the incident, suggesting he may have been quietly facing a mental health crisis of his own, one that those around him didn't fully recognize the seriousness of. Being on antidepressant medication suggests he had sought some form of medical support at some point, but it clearly wasn't enough, in the end, to prevent what happened. In the aftermath, Aaron Cockman repeatedly criticised the Office of the State Coroner of Western Australia, saying the office had been secretive and had failed to provide him with adequate information. For a father who had lost every one of his children in a single morning, the lack of clear information from the authorities only added to the weight of what he was already carrying. State Coroner Ross Fogliani declined his request for a public inquest, stating that all relevant lines of inquiry had already been followed. Unsatisfied with that decision, Aaron then wrote to WA Attorney General John Quigley, renewing his call for a public inquest. Aaron also expressed the view that the Family Court of Western Australia had placed the Miles family under intense financial and emotional pressure before the incident, and he has voiced support for a royal commission into Australia's family law system. From there, Aaron's story became more than a personal grief. It became part of a wider conversation about how Australia's family law system operates. The Osmington case is not simply a personal tragedy. It's a warning about what can happen when family, financial, and psychological pressures build up for too long without timely intervention. One question worth asking: can a family law system designed to protect children, sometimes unintentionally, create pressure severe enough to push a family to breaking point, without adequate psychological support alongside it? Another question: when someone is being treated for depression, while also carrying long-term financial strain and family conflict, where is the line between a quiet personal crisis and a situation that those around them need to recognize and step in on before it's too late? And perhaps the hardest question of all: how can a community, or a wider support system, recognize the quiet warning signs inside a family that, to the outside world, always seemed perfectly normal? There's no single answer to this. It's something each of us can reflect on, especially when looking back at warning signs that had appeared for years, but that no one recognized in time as serious. Perhaps the answer isn't about placing blame on any one person or institution, but about recognizing that a tragedy like this is usually the result of many pressures building up together, where the right intervention at the right moment might have changed everything. The Osmington case leaves behind painful lessons about how we recognize and support family members going through a crisis. Lesson 1. Warning signs, however small, should not be ignored. Estrangement within a family. A desperate remark spoken in a moment of despair. An unexplained change in someone's mood or daily habits. These are all signals that deserve to be taken seriously, not dismissed as something in the past that no longer matters. Lesson 2. A prolonged custody dispute can create pressure beyond what anyone can bear. When a legal process drags on for years, bringing heavy financial costs and constant emotional strain, the families involved need access to professional psychological support alongside the legal process. They shouldn't have to face that pressure alone. Lesson 3. The mental health of older family members deserves just as much attention. Peter Miles was a grandfather, a father, a husband who had spent his life caring for his family. But when he faced his own psychological crisis, the support he sought doesn't appear to have been enough to see him through the hardest period of his life. This is a reminder that anyone, at any age, may need help when carrying a mental health crisis beyond what they can manage alone. Lesson 4. A multi-generational household can be a powerful source of support, but it can also become a place where pressure builds up unspoken, if no one speaks up when things become too much. Opening up to family, friends, or a mental health professional isn't a sign of weakness. It's a necessary step toward preventing a tragedy. Lesson 5. Sometimes the people we think of as the strongest, the ones everyone else leans on, are the ones quietly struggling the most, without anyone realizing it. Simply checking in on the people close to us, even when they seem fine, can be a small act that carries real weight in preventing tragedies like this one. If you or someone you know is feeling hopeless or having thoughts of self-harm, please reach out for support now. In Australia, emergency 000 24/7 crisis support. Lifeline 13 11 14. Crime Australia. HT produces this content for informational and educational purposes. We do not take sides in this case. We present the facts based on verified press sources and let you form your own judgment.